Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and look at us. We're doing book reviews, bitch. We're doing book reviews, because what? She read a book and she gonna review it. I'm trying to be better. Am I there yet? No. But that's what you gotta try to get there. We're talking today about 107 Days by Kamala Harris. Yes, Kamala. Not Kamala, it's Kamala. Once you hear it one time, you should be able to pronounce it, okay? Kamala Harris. I know that most of you know that she was running for president in last year's election after our former president, Joseph Robinette Biden, decided to drop out last minute after a lot of comments about his age, him getting sick, and so she became the Democrat nominee instead of Joseph. And this book is detailing the 107 days from the time he told her that he was dropping out until election day. And obviously, we are living in post-election America. Well, I am, unfortunately. And the world is living in our post-election, let's be honest, because it does not just affect us, it affects the world. So, I was like, I don't know if I wanted to read it, right? I'm like, I know the results, I know what happened, but then people were starting to say little snippets on social media, so I got interested to hear it for myself. I did listen to the audio, which she narrates. So if you had a problem with her laugh, well, you probably wouldn't be listening to her book if you had a problem with her laugh anyway, but she doesn't laugh that much, okay? Just a notice. But I really... I was gonna say enjoy it, but it actually was kind of hard. And not because I didn't like the writing style, like it was very straightforward, but like I liked the writing style. It's also not long. I feel like usually books by presidents, former presidents, people in any kind of politics are usually 500 pages plus. And that's why I don't be reading them. I'd be like, damn, that's gonna take a lot of time. But this one's only like 350, maybe 350 pages. So the audiobook was like 10 hours or less. So it did not take me that long to listen to it. But even if you are like, I already know what happened, I was watching the news, I was seeing everything that was playing out, she does include things that were happening behind the scenes that we didn't get to see. So that was very interesting from the people who, or how it happened, just from how it happened, like how she found out, because she also is explaining like she was with her nieces and like cute little anecdotes like that that really humanize her and make her a normal person, because, you know, she is. But other things from like when they decided she was going to be the nominee and like how some people in the Democratic Party reacted to that. Some saying like, oh no, we shouldn't just like accept her as the new person to be the nominee for Democrats. We should hold a mini primary. Some of the people who were very enthusiastic and immediate to be like, I'm immediately going to endorse you. Others who were like, I've got to hold off, which there were varying reasons. Like some people, of course, everything's going to slip my mind. Someone's like, I'm the leader of this blah 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 group. It, you know, it wouldn't look right if I came out and said this immediately. But then other people that I'm like, that's interesting. I'm trying not to like give it all away, so if you want to read it, you can still hear those and be like, oh my god. But certain people you may think who would have been like rushed to give her an endorsement, who were like, oh, we're gonna hold back. Even how much she had to like convince Joe and his team to give her an immediate endorsement and not wait. So stuff like that was like, okay, that's very odd. Like, I don't know. I just, things I would assume people would do, especially with the limited amount of time, like for them to want to do a mini primary that close to the election, crazy work. And I'm glad that they did not do that. But she did have a lot of support. It's just interesting to see who, when, where, what, why they decided to endorse her. Also, we get to, you know, we do get information about her, her relationship with Doug, or Dougie as she likes to call him. And she like comments on, you know, how they met and his first wife and their kids. I like that she referred to them as her, like their kids. She wasn't saying like my stepchildren or his kids. I think that's very important. And, you know, she mentions her mother a lot and her sister, and just like personal things to her and like all of the things going into it, and then simple things that obviously it's like duh, but that I wouldn't think about because I'm never in that position. I'm not a political leader, but like wanting to, like having a stressful day and wanting to be like, oh, I just want to go outside for a walk, and like she can't just do that. Like they have to be like, hold on, where, who's coming, how long are we going to be walking, we need to scope this out. Like how that is, I think I did in one of my Goodreads updates that I never had a desire to be president. I only say it jokingly so I can like outlaw things like Crocs. But I never had a desire to be president. And after this, I extra don't want to be president. Like, it already was like very low on my list of things I would ever want to do, but just stuff like that where you can't just like go for a walk, or how she was saying, because she was commenting on our current administration and their foolery, like the Signal group chat and stuff like that, making war plans in a group chat, text messaging, and just things she said, like, since she got into office, never using like her personal phone for like text messaging, or like only having her secure phone, all these different things that she did that I'm like, oh my God, I just would never think about that. And those are things that you have to do, changes you have to make to your life when you're in such a high political position. But then she also was talking about just all of the considerations that she had to make, which all politicians have to make. Well, most of them have to make, so that you are perceived how you want to, but how much she had to do because she was a Black woman. So just thinking about, like, if she got up in the morning to work out, it's not as simple as a man who can just run, go shower. Maybe they have hair, maybe they don't. They put on a suit out the door. That she's got to think about the time to be able to do her hair, to do her makeup, think about what she's wearing. That's why she often went with pantsuits, because she was like, to be caught in a dress, you're coming off the planes or something, that's a risk of like a snafu. Then she was saying you can't like not put in any effort, because then they're gonna say you're why do I want to say frumpy, like you don't care about yourself. But then if you put in too much effort, then you're a diva, you want all this attention. And I'm just like, things that obviously normal women have to deal with, but that she also still has to deal with, being a political figure running for the president of the United States. And of course this is what people will be worried about. So all of those considerations, things just like in her personal relationships, things they have to sacrifice, the time being time apart with her speaking here, him speaking there, different things, like how that affected their relationship. I thought that was really interesting to read about. But I think one of the two big takeaways for me from 107 Days was that I truly don't think that even if she had the full length of time that a normal nominee had, if she had the full, from like that Joe was never up for re-election, that it was always her, I don't think that she would have won. Simply because of this, really, the book really just reiterated to me how deeply this country's foundation, and therefore a lot of people still hold really tight to these racist and sexist and xenophobic values. And it's funny because I have no shame in telling you I'm a registered Democrat. I have voted Democrat in every election. As I get older, contrary to the you get more conservative as you get older, or whatever the saying is, I have become more liberal. So I go further left as I get older, but I've still like voted for the Democratic nominee. But when I look at someone like Kamala, and she also goes back through campaign points and things that she was saying when she was running for president, right? Different things about various topics. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, she's going through all of her points, because of course she talks about Gaza, but talks about the housing industry and big banks and all this different stuff. When I'm listening to this as the person that I am now, I'm like, she is very much, which the Democratic Party in general is a very moderate, like centrist party. They're not that liberal. Like, these things are not that, she's not Bernie Sanders. She was not saying free healthcare, free education, free all of these things. She was saying like maybe some assistance, maybe lowering this, maybe keeping prices here, still having to do our foreign policy duties. I'm like, such a centrist thing. So it's crazy to me that people were like, oh, too liberal. And I don't know, I think that might be like a third reason. I think the first reason, I'm like, was it more because she was Black or that she was a woman? Because this country hates women, and they hate Black women even more. So I'm like, which one was it? But I just don't think, with all of the fundraising, all of the things, all of the work that she did trying to connect with Gen Z, trying to connect with different different generations through different platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Having people like Beyonce and Meg Thee Stallion to try to reach to different people, to try to talk to people in unions, like she just talked about, trying to go to all these states, not wanting to go somewhere and waste time where it's like, okay, well, that state is definitely going to vote blue, or Texas is definitely going to go red, and trying to go to a lot to the swing states. She went on the Call Her Daddy podcast. I love that she did put in there about Joe Rogan, because she wanted to go on that podcast and he was being very difficult about scheduling it, so she wasn't able to, which I think could have made a big deal. Like that, sad as it sounds, her going on Joe Rogan might have been the thing that could have swung. Like if she had gone on Joe Rogan and he endorsed her, that might have been the way she won, which sounds so insane, but so many young men listen to him. There's like an overwhelming amount of young, especially in the Gen Z generation of men, who are just like more conservative and like Christian than with us millennials. And I'm just like, God. But all of those things, I still don't know if she would have been able to win, because it's been very apparent, but the election obviously made it clear that people want to be loud and proud racist, loud and proud sexist and xenophobes. And this even goes for the women who voted for him because they hate themselves, and also immigrants and people of color who voted for this person because they hate themselves. It's embarrassing. So that was my main takeaway, was that I don't think she had a good chance of winning, even if she had the full time. The second takeaway was that I just forgot what my second takeaway was supposed to be. I think my second takeaway was supposed to be what I just said from the first one, that this country is just so deeply rooted in racism and misogyny, and I don't know how we get out of that. And also that the war on, or really the project to like dumb America down, all the children that should have been left behind, who were not, and pushed through, it is really succeeding because people just believe anything. I saw on Threads the other night, someone was like, we need to make space for the people who voted for Trump but are now realizing their mistake, and like basically saying we need to give them grace because they're realizing that they were lied to. There was another thread by some lady named Judith that said, I want to apologize to like my queer and BIPOC friends out there. I don't know if she said friends, but because I voted for Trump and now I'm realizing that he like lied and did all these things, and like, I'm sorry. Save it. Now, I know that people like to say that this is why the left can't get it together. There's many reasons why the left can't get it together. I am not going to go on that rant here. But I think that there's a difference between someone having harmful views and like learning from that and expressing sincere regret and doing things like making changes to how they act and different things around them. But this has been going on since this man ran in 2016. God, was it that long? And it's just gotten worse. So you've been lied to for 10 years. Like, I don't accept the apology because I don't think it's real. I think you're just realizing, what's the saying? Oh no, the leopards are eating my face. You voted for something thinking you were going to be exempt. You're like, well, I'm a white person, or I'm a rich person, or I'm an immigrant, but I'm different from all the other ones. And this isn't going to affect me. And now it's affecting you, and now you're sorry. So I do not take your apology. I don't take it because I don't think it's valid. I don't think it's heartfelt. Also, what does it do for any of us now? What does it do to all of the families that are torn apart because of all of these ICE raids? What does it do for women who die or aren't able to get the medical care that they need because of all these abortion bans? What does it do for people who can't afford their medical insurance because of what the government is doing, or who don't get a paycheck because the government is shut down? What the fuck does your sorry, I'm sorry, let's hold space and grace do for anybody who is affected, who is in a prison in a country that they didn't come from because you voted for this piece of shit because you hated a black woman so much? What does your sorry do for me, Judith? It doesn't do shit for me, and it doesn't do shit for anybody else. It doesn't bring grocery prices down. It doesn't bring gas prices down. It doesn't make public transport more available. It doesn't give medical care to anyone. What does it do? Are you out in the street? Are you volunteering? Are you donating to your food bank? Are you protesting against ICE? Are you protecting your neighbors? Maybe that's how you start to make amends. You start fucking doing shit. You start putting yourself on the line since you just wanted to put millions of other people's lives on the line. How about you do that? But I'm so sorry. I just get so angry because save it. This was not some menial little thing. This was not like voting for class president in your high school. This was for president of the United States, who has so much influence and control over what happens in the world, who has the nuclear codes, who has all of these things. And you were just like, oh, I think Judith Things was saying she didn't want to look up because she was lazy and didn't want to research about Kamala. So also you for being lazy. So lazy, racist, like all of the things that he espouses, that people are like, finally, somebody saying this out loud. This is who I can support. And so then you decided to support him, and now it's coming to bite everyone in the ass, including those of us who did not vote for this shit. So save your sorry, shove it up your goddamn ass. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Get out on the street, block eyes, do some real work in your community, and that's how you can start to atone for your hideous choice that you made. So reading the book, obviously living in post-election America, I knew the results, but somehow because her team just felt so hopeful, and she's telling this story, and I think she did a good job of like going back to the past, even though she's writing this afterwards, and making you still feel hopeful too about like when they're telling about polling, about results that they're doing, all of the things, it was making me feel hopeful. But when we get to election night, I think she conveyed the emotion so well. I was listening to this in the gym getting teary-eyed. And then when they were talking about reading out the electorate votes, it's like I knew the answer, but it hurt so much to hear it again. And this is not to say, I'm not here to be like, oh my God, Kamala, like, this is perfect person. No person is perfect. And to be a politician, there's a lot of things you have to do, and something that I would never be able to do. And obviously I didn't agree with everything she said about Gaza. And like, again, I'm not in politics, I'm not in world politics, but I do know what I think is right and what is wrong. And I don't agree with everything that she said or done, but it was just, I think if you're curious, it's an interesting read. And I think my battery's gonna die, and that sucks because I'm almost finished, but I wanted to make another point because I think she also did herself a disservice by how much she referred back to Joe Biden, because so many people were fed up with Joe Biden, but she wanted to be like, I respect you, thank you for choosing me as your VP, and now to replace you. And so in interviews, in speeches and talks, she would always like talk about him and like give him his time. And I think that detracted from her. Again, I don't know if that would have been enough for her to win, but that was something she also brought up. Like, people would be like, no, don't talk about Joe Biden. Like, people don't want to hear about it. Like, just talk about yourself. But she was trying to be respectful. And that's something that as a Black woman, you're conditioned to do. God, it's so infuriating. It's just, wow. Also, to all the people who everything's been happening in the country and they're like, well, where's Kamala? Where is she? She was so loud. What the fuck do you want her to do? She is now a private citizen. She's not in any office. She lost the election. So I don't know what you want her to do different than what she's been doing. Yes, she's coming out to promote her book. She's been writing it. Hey, I've got a better question. Where is Jill Stein? Now, she is a well-to-do woman in a place of high authority, even if she's not in a private holding office right now. But again, it's always that question. You always want Black people, Black women to do labor for you. Always. Especially when we didn't create the mess. And that's just something that was reiterated to me in this book. You can climb to she was in the second highest office of the land and still had to think of all these things of how to be so people would perceive you in the right way, of how to tread lightly, to make sure to defer to this white man, to give respect, to say thank you for letting me in this place. Okay, I said most of what I wanted to say, so I'm not gonna put another battery in the camera. But again, if you're curious about everything that's happening on beyond the scenes, I think you should read it. Also, again, it's not super long, but I think you will feel emotions, and there may be moments of joy where you're like, I almost forgot how this ends, and then you're brought back down to reality. I think it is something that we have to grapple with in general is to stop idolizing politicians. Like we need to realize this is a job and that they are supposed to be public servants. Also that they cannot be perfect people. It's impossible to please everybody, but also we really need to hold them accountable. They need to be doing their jobs. But essentially, TLDR, we are never going to fix America until we reshape the entire thing, because the foundation of this country was built on war, destruction, violence, and that continues. And we just keep pretending like, oh, just one candidate will fix it, and like it won't. Like the whole institution has to be rewritten. I don't know how we do that. I think, unfortunately, to make the significant changes that we need, you need either money and or violence. The people with the money do not care because they like how it is. They like the status quo. And then violence, obviously, that's not something you can ask people to do lightly. Historically, it's usually been marginalized groups who do that. And of course, they are prosecuted, they are killed. And we don't want to do that anymore. I say we as a collective, we, obviously, I was not out there in the streets. And so again, to those people who are like Judith and whatever on the internet saying they're sorry, then get out. And I'm not talking to No Kings protests. I'm talking like the people who are out on the street defending their neighbors against ICE, warning their neighbors, protecting people. Like, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm not a political pundit. I'm not a political scientist. I'm just a human being who wants people to have food and shelter and healthcare and livable wages and a universal income, and be able to have sweet treats and go on vacations and send their children to school without fear of their children being shot. I don't know. I don't think it's a lot. Apparently I'm radical though. Apparently that's crazy to want. I want people to be able to get an education and not go into massive debt. Crazy, right? Apparently I am. So anyway, I'm ranting. You should read it. If you have read it, tell me your thoughts. My arm is starting to cramp. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.